everyone, or should I say bonjour tout le monde, bon matin, bon après-midi, bonsoir, bonne journée. I can't see where I'm going because I'm reading what's going on the other screen. J'espère que vous passez trop en journée générale aujourd'hui. Okay, do you know what? I keep crashing trying to do this. I'm gonna have to stop. Mon nom est Lex. Was it S or S? I don't know. French is a confusing language. Mon nom est Lex et bienvenue sur une nouvelle vidéo sur GTA 5. I'm so close. I wanted to say 5. I've not spoken French in a very long time. 5. GTA 5. GTA 5? How would GTA be said in French? I'm not entirely sure. That's actually the one thing that I think doesn't really translate. When you guys give me these foreign language intros, it doesn't really explain how I should properly say GTA, because sometimes it's GTA or GTA or something like that, or GTA. I don't know. That was terrible. So hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day. Hope you're all having an amazing day today. My name is Lex and welcome back to some more GTA 5, where today we are looking at this. This is one of the brand new cars out in GTA Online right now that came out on the update that came out on Tuesday. This is the Overflod Entity XXR, which could do with a bit of a fix-up. There we go, that's better. So this thing right here, according to this list that I've been given by MG Games 100, this is based on a Koenigsegg 1:1. Is it just called the 1? Do you say both those things? I've heard of this Koenigsegg. The thing is, I don't really pay attention to every single supercar that's ever announced, comes out, or whatever. So I don't know all these different Koenigseggs. But yeah, I could definitely tell that there's some Koenigsegg here. I mean, if this hadn't been told, I would at least be able to tell you that this looks like a Koenigsegg, especially this like window thing here. This is like this whole like wraparound, well, my Jonathan Ross, wraparound window screen is very Koenigsegg, because they've definitely had that on one of the earlier ones. Was it like an Agera? Did the Agera have that? I think this is, you know what, I'm not well versed in supercars, as I know some of you guys are, so I'm not even going to pretend to know, but I do recognise some of the styling cues of this being from a Koenigsegg. And this thing on GTA Online costs, wait for it, $2.3 million. This thing is not cheap in the slightest. Now, from what I hear, it's not worth that price because it's not actually that fast. Normally, there'd be some sort of special thing about the car that would make it worth a certain amount of money. Is it because it's like got loads of tuning parts available? Is it because it's got weaponry? Can it fly? You know, all these sort of things. Is it incredibly fast? Apparently, this just isn't really that fast. It's sort of quite mid-tier performance compared to some other cars. And despite the fact I can't really do anything sort of super scientific with circuit racing, which is where I think a lot of the times and the slower times for this is based on, basically because I don't really have a decent scientific method of having a circuit race or anything like that with corners and stuff, because there's always some sort of discrepancies where I wouldn't steer it properly, I wouldn't be able to, you know, whatever. So I'm going to be doing some straight line tests between this, the Entity XF, maybe we'll throw in a couple more supercars as well, just to see how this compares, at least as I'm playing this now in single player. Online might be slightly different. But before we do all of that, there's going to be some comments on the screen. These are comments featured from the previous video. If you would like your comments featured, you can leave them in the comment section below. I'll pick some at random and feature them at the start of the next video. And don't forget, you can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram, at Figureight on Twitter, _Figureight on Instagram. Links for both of those in the description below, as always, where I post pictures on Instagram of my car sometimes, and like keyboards that I build and other hobbies and stuff that I have. And Twitter, I just post memes and rant about stuff, which is always fun. So, before we actually get round to looking at the speeds and times of this thing, there's actually some tuning parts that we can look at too. So I need to find somewhere nice and flat to park. Actually, I know where. The road around the prison's going to be a good one. There we go. We have a nice, big, empty area, especially with this car park right here, where we can modify this thing. So let's just have a look around. First of all, let's just have a quick look. I mean, you can already see some of the things. We can have a look at some of the details. We've got the lights there. It's pretty fairly made for Rockstar. I have heard of some quite questionable vehicles that are being added very soon to GTA Online, but we will be looking at those in other videos. But we've got our Overflod badge right there. Very weird name, Overflod. Definitely Overflod. However, I'm presuming it's supposed to be some sort of Scandinavian name? I don't know. It's sort of, yeah, obviously because Koenigsegg is Swedish. And then on the interior, it's pretty basic. This is, I don't think, a custom interior. I definitely recognize this middle part. This is very McLaren. this whole thing, which is obviously not very Koenigsegg at all. But there's the interior right there. So let's just go to some tuning options. Let's go to menus, customs. What do we have in lowrider mods? Nothing. Okay, so no liveries or anything like that. So on the spoilers, we have the option to remove wing. That's pretty nice without the wing. Then we have the low-level spoiler, which actually looks very similar. Oh, no, it doesn't. It looks nothing like it. What am I on about? Then we have the carbon wing. Oh, that's quite nice. That's quite delicate looking and supercar-esque, I feel. Then we have the GT wing and the tuner wing. I'm going to go with the carbon wing, because I think that suits it quite nicely, actually. Yeah, I like that. Then we have, for the front bumper, we have the stock. We have the primary short splitter, which, oh, I actually really like the stock compared to that, I've got to be honest. Right, well, we have the stock. Actually, it's not too bad looking, but I do like how that looks in stock form. But we have that in primary, secondary, and carbon. Then we have, oh, there we go. That's like the stock, but with the canards on the side there. We can have that in carbon, primary color, secondary color, or, ooh, interestingly, highlight color. That's very expensive supercar-esque, isn't it? I mean, that's not really my taste, but if we want to make this sort of like a crazy supercar, then that's pretty cool. Then on the rear, we have the stock, we have the primary color diffuser, the secondary color diffuser, and then the highlighted one with the carbon fiber. So I guess we'll go for that one, seeing it matches what we have on the front. On the exhaust, we have the options of the stock square, then we have the okay. That is probably the worst. I mean, we've seen some bad exhaust textures recently, but that has to be the worst looking exhaust in GTA 5 history. And then we have the big bore. Oh, okay, so it's still actually keeping the same sort of shape and everything, but that's just made it into a single one. And then we also have the triple exit exhaust. Do you know what? I think, actually, I quite like the big bore. I just like that one single one in the middle. I quite like that, so we'll go for that. Then onto the hood, we have the primary hood fins. Oh. Ooh. Okay, actually, I really like that with the big, massive thing there, but those fins do make it look pretty brutal. So we have that in primary color, secondary color, and carbon as well. I'm actually liking this whole mix of carbon that we've got here, so I'm going to continue that carbon theme with that as well. And then it's just a case of engine, brakes, transmission, suspension, and everything else. Let's see what sort of suspension drops we get here. We have lowered, street, sport, competition. That's actually a pretty big drop, I've got to say. Might not even need V-Stancer for this one. And then we have nothing in the extras, so we can go for some turbo, and then we'll pick the paint color. Now, I don't really know what the style cues are or what like the expected colors are to be on a Koenigsegg, but I actually really like this Maui blue and this police blue. It's sort of not too overly bright in the blue, but it's still like very interesting, especially with all these highlights and stuff going down here. And actually it seems quite nice as a match with this red here. I think that's actually going to be quite a nice color, so I'm going to go for that. And going from the secondary color, I can't see any color. Oh, actually no, it is the interior stitching color. Okay, so I think for that one we should probably go for something like a surf blue or an ultra blue. What can we get that's actually matching? Maybe racing blue? No, that's still a bit too dark. Maybe light blue is the one to go for. There we go, we have the matching stitching then. And actually I noticed we have got a bit of a blue tint on the dashboard as well. I don't think, look, we can change that, but that's still working off the blue. So even if we made that black, there's still a blue tint there, which I've got to be honest, I'm not a fan of. That's a bit of a shame. That makes it look really horrible. I wish we can get rid of that, but I think that might actually be tied to secondary color. No, it's definitely tied to, I think, to the first main color then, because the secondary color doesn't change it. No, okay, as I'm going through, apparently the dashboard is just blue, which is really weird. I don't know why it's blue, but yeah, not a fan. Wished it was black. And then that just leaves us with the wheels. Now, these wheels are quite nice as they are, but let's see if there are anything else. I mean, these are nice and carbon. They do match at least. Well, do you know what? All the stock wheels that I think we can go for are all pretty much similar. We'll just go for that one. We'll go for the Cheetah Carbon R wheels because I actually do quite like how they look. They go nice and in at the middle. I like that. And there we are with our build done. Now, is the question of, is this actually a fast car? Which means we need to hand it over to... No, we're not going to hand it over to a tame racing driver because it's actually just me. Let's go to the airport then and see how fast we go. Okay, so here we are to set the time in the Entity XXR. I'm just going to not use any sort of like revving or holding the brakes. I'm just going to go as we are. And there we are with a 0 to 60 time of 3 seconds, which is actually pretty respectable, I'd say. And we've definitely seen worse with supercars. But apparently it's the Entity XF that we've got to compare it to, because it's just apparently not as good. And there we are with an 18.4 second time, 124 miles an hour. Now, bear in mind, this is the fully tuned version. As you would have seen, as I was modifying that, I did all the engine mods and everything. So this is the time and speed of a fully tuned Entity XXR on our airport drag strip raceway. So now, let's compare it to the XF. Right, so here we are, spawned in with the Entity XF, and I'm just going to do the exact same things that I've done with the other car. I'm just going to go to engine, upgrade that, brakes, upgrade that, transmission, suspension, and turbo. Everything is spec'd out. Now, let's see what time we get. And here we go. Let's see, so we had a 3 second 0 to 60. Actually, this is 3.4. The acceleration of a fully spec'd out XF seems to be slower. And we had, what was it, 18.4 for the full time? I think it was, at 120 something miles an hour. Do you know what? This is where there's a bit of a discrepancy here between single player and online, because in single player, this thing is just a lot slower. It's nowhere near as fast. 115 miles an hour top speed, 19.4 second time on that drag racing, 3.4 on the 0 to 60. Now, it could just be that this thing is much better handling and better in the twisties, which is how, with the testing that I've heard from other people who has been on circuit racing, they've been able to get better times than the Entity XXF. The other reason could be actually because I'm not using the latest update. I'm still using the handling files of all these new cars, but they are imported in as a mod for me to use in single player until everything else is updated, like script hook and stuff. That's why, if you guys are wondering how I'm doing this, I'm using an older version of GTA with the newer files plopped in as if they were a mod. So there could actually be another thing at play here. There could be a more severe handling thing that has affected all of the handling inside of the latest GTA update, which is how that the newer cars perhaps aren't performing as well. There could be so many different reasons why, but from this very small test that I've done in single player, the Entity XXR is definitely faster. But let's see what they're like in stock form, just to see. So here we are again with the XF, now in stock form, and this is going to give us a 0 to 60 time of 4.2. This thing is definitely slower, much slower. Takes ages just to get up to 90, and now we're finally at 100. There we go. Wow, 17 seconds to get to 100 miles an hour. This thing is actually confirmed slower than my Evo. How about that? Definitely not real Koenigsegg speeds, can say that much. 21.3 seconds from a stock XF at 105 miles an hour. Let's see how the XXR fares. And here we go, stock XXR. And already I feel, there we go, 3.8 seconds 0 to 60. That feels like the speed that we got from the modified Entity XF. This thing is definitely faster. But there are a few other supercars that are pretty quick in GT Online that we need to compare this to again, because I know that these findings don't seem to be exactly as what everyone else has found, but just out of curiosity, we should probably compare this to a few other supercars as well. But we've got a 20.4 second, 112 mile an hour run out of the XXR. So in all aspects of at least this drag race, the XXR is quicker. So next up, let's compare it to the weird and the wonderful Wagner. But first of all, we need to go to customs, and I just want to go ahead and go and upgrade everything so that we can get the match. I'm just basically going to go for like the comparison between the fully spec'd out, fully modified versions. Let's do our test and go. Let's see what our 0 to 60 time is. Now, there is going to be a slight small discrepancy, because as you would have noticed at the start of all these runs, that there's always like a slight sort of like time added on. It's never like incredibly exact, but still in a general sense you can get the idea. And this thing is going to do it in 19 seconds, which again is slower than the XXR run. And this thing is supposed to be one of the fastest cars in the game. And again, it could be that some cars are just slower accelerating. It could just be that they're better handling for circuit racing. They just hold the power better and the speed better in the corners. So of course, as I've said, this isn't a completely conclusive scientific test. It's more just playing around and testing with at least drag racing. So let's try this again with one of my favorite cars in this game, the RE7B. So let's go ahead again, customs, engine, brakes, transmission, suspension, and turbo. And let's see how this one fares. There's a lot of wheel spin at the start though. That's going to be a very slow 0 to 60, 3.8 seconds. Actually, it's not too bad compared to the rest. Why does this feel so slow to me? I don't know why this feels so slow. But definitely, at least for me, in single player, the XXR is still pretty fast. Again, 19.7. This is mad. Right, I'm doing this again with another XXR. I've spec'd this all out once again because, I don't know, something feels up. Definitely from what I've heard, this is slow, but from what I see here, pretty fast. Now, it could just be that in online mode also, that Rockstar have added in some extra handling things to the new cars, because I hear that there's some new race modes, and obviously they could have added some sort of like global handling thing to all the new cars to sort of work with these new races, or not work with the new races. But as far as I can see, out of all the cars we've tested so far at least, this thing is faster. So maybe if there are issues with this car in GT Online, maybe they'll just be fixed and patched by Rockstar, and maybe it will become fast as we found today. So I think to end, should we stance one? Let's stance one. Okay, and here we are with the final thing. So basically, I just went for like the smoother looks. I went for that smaller, smoother front end. I went for the matching color. I was going to go for secondary color and everything. Then I decided that actually it all looked amazing in this beautiful midnight purple with a red flip. And I've gone for midnight purple wheels as well, which actually with the red flip has made the color slightly off. But do you know what? It's all right. And I've gone for actually what are supposed to be racing wheels, and then I've gone for some camber, because really I'm just crazy. But do you know what? I did that because some of you, you're into stance, and some of you perhaps were just curious how this might look with it all cambered out. I've definitely seen worse. I've definitely seen better, but also with this without the spoiler, I actually think looks really nice. So there we are. There is the Entity XXR. Not bad. Not bad indeed. So there we are, guys. That's it for this rather weird video, checking out this car with some rather, perhaps, inconsistent tests. I don't know how these are going to compare. You can let me know, actually. Have you bought this in GT Online? Do you think it's worth the money? Or have you found out that actually it's one of the fastest cars in the game? I'll be interested to know your thoughts in the comment section below. But that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I shall see you all next time. Goodbye!